This video covers the required Supreme Court of the United States, or SCOTUS, cases that are essential for understanding AP-US government. Let's start by defining some key vocabulary related to these cases. We'll be discussing the facts, issue, holding, reasoning, and the final decision of the court. We'll also differentiate between the overall opinion and the majority opinion. The required cases are grouped into 5 units. Unit 1 includes McCulloch versus Maryland and U.S. versus Lopez. Unit 2 covers Marbury versus Madison, Baker versus Carr, and Shaw versus Reno. Unit 3 has the largest number of cases, addressing civil liberties and rights. Unit 4 has no required cases, and Unit 5 includes Citizens United versus FEC. McCulloch versus Maryland established that the federal law is supreme over state law when they conflict. The court ruled for McCulloch, affirming Congress's implied powers through the necessary and proper clause. In U.S. versus Lopez, the court limited Congress's power under the Commerce Clause, ruling that carrying a gun near a school does not substantially affect interstate commerce. This checked federal power and reinforced states' rights. Baker versus Carr established that federal courts can hear redistricting cases. The holding affirmed that unequal representation violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, leading to the quote, one person, one vote standard. Shaw versus Reno addressed racial gerrymandering. The court ruled that districts drawn primarily on race must survive strict scrutiny under the Equal Protection Clause. Marbury versus Madison is foundational, establishing judicial review. This allows the Supreme Court to strike down laws that violate the Constitution, significantly strengthening the judicial branch. Engel versus Vital ruled that government-sponsored prayer in public schools is unconstitutional, even if voluntary and non-denominational, as it violates the First Amendment's Establishment Clause. Wisconsin versus Yoder upheld the Free Exercise Clause. The court ruled that the state's interest in mandatory schooling for Amish children until age 16 was outweighed by the parents' right to religious freedom. Tinker versus Des Moines protected students' symbolic speech rights. The court held that symbolic speech is protected unless it substantially disrupts learning, setting the disruption test standard. Schenck versus U.S. established the clear and present danger test for limiting free speech. The ruling held that wartime speech creating such a danger is not protected by the First Amendment. New York Times Company versus U.S. addressed prior restraint. The court ruled that prior restraint is unconstitutional, meaning the press can publish classified information unless there is an immediate national security threat. McDonald versus Chicago incorporated the Second Amendment to the states via the 14th Amendment Due Process Clause. The court held that the right to keep and bear arms is a fundamental right, limiting state and local gun bans. Gideon versus Wainwright established that the Sixth Amendment right to counsel applies to state cases through the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause. This requires states to provide attorneys to defendants who cannot afford one. Brown versus Board of Education overturned the, quote, separate but equal doctrine from Plessy versus Ferguson. The court ruled that segregated public schools violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, leading to desegregation. Finally, Citizens United versus FEC involved the First Amendment. The court ruled that corporate and union spending on political advertisements is a form of protected free speech, leading to the rise of super PACs.